Before The Bachelorette pitted 30 men against each other to win one woman's heart, Americans watched another show. It was called The Dating Game. Starting in 1965, this reality show featured a woman asking 3 men questions without seeing their faces, and based on their answers, at the end of the show, she would choose one to go on a date with. On September 13th, 1978, at the end of this particular show, it was time for The Bachelorette, Cheryl Bradshaw, to make her decision, and she would choose Bachelor number 1, whose name was Rodney. But after the show ended and Cheryl and Rodney went backstage and actually began having a real conversation that was not being filmed, Cheryl would say that Rodney completely changed. He became incredibly creepy and was saying things like, "I always get the girl." And then at some point he says, "Hey, you should come out with me tonight. It'll be a date you'll never forget." And she turns to him and just says, "No thanks." This would turn out to be a really wise decision because Rodney was a horrible person. Had the show done a background check on Rodney, they would have discovered that he assaulted an 8-year-old and went to jail for 3 years for it and was currently on parole. But even if they had done a background check on Rodney, the check would not have discovered what he did at night. Rodney was shamelessly cocky and self-confident. He would go up to women in bars and he would convince them that he was a fashion photographer and that they were so beautiful, would you come back to my apartment and do a photo shoot with me? And just like Cheryl on the dating show, these women were immediately kind of charmed by him and would say yes. Once they got back to his apartment, he would shut and lock the door and then become that creepy guy that Cheryl saw backstage. These women were trapped, and then whether they wanted to or not, they would do a photo shoot with him, and then he would strangle them to death. Because Rodney Alcala was not your typical dating game contestant. He was a serial killer who, by the time he stepped foot on that show and was chosen by Cheryl Bradford to win the game, he had already killed 4 people. And over a 2-year period, he killed as many as 130 people, which, if you're doing the math, is over those 2 years, he was killing at least 1 person a week. Alcala was finally apprehended and he was sentenced to death.
A 9-year-old boy called Tom Reed was in the car with his mom, his grandmother, and his brother driving through Sheffield on the night of September 1st, 1969. It was late, just a normal drive home. Then, according to the Reed family, they noticed a strange light in the sky. At first, it seemed far away, but the light kept getting brighter, closer, until eventually they claimed that the whole area around the car was glowing. A few seconds later, they couldn't hear insects anymore. No crickets, no wind, nothing. Then they said the car started acting strangely, it wasn't functioning properly. Then, blank. Everything just went blank. Years later, Tom Reed would claim that the next thing he remembered was waking up somewhere that was definitely not the road. He said he was lying down on something that felt like cold metal table. Then he could hear voices nearby. It was his mom, his brother. They sounded terrified. Tom would later say that there were also figures that were around them. Thin, not human looking. Then suddenly, they were back in the car again. But something felt wrong immediately. When they woke up in the car, they were no longer in their original sitting positions. It felt like somebody had taken them out and rearranged them in the car. Tom's grandmother was now sitting down in the driver's seat, but she couldn't even drive. She didn't drive on a normal day. And according to the family, hours had somehow passed and they don't know what happened. Apparently, they were not even the only people claiming strange things happened that night. Other people across Berkshire County also claimed that they experienced strange things. They saw strange lights in the sky. Some claimed that they had lost track of a lot of time. Others said that they saw silent objects hovering above roads and fields. Over the years, the story has become known as the Berkshire's UFO incident. Now let's go to Zimbabwe. On September 16, 1994, children at a private school near Rua were outside during morning break while the teachers were inside having a meeting. Now the children were very young. They were between the ages of 6 and 12. According to dozens of them, something landed near their school. Some of the children said that they noticed strange silver objects near the trees beyond the playground. Then that they saw figures standing nearby, small figures who were dressed in all black. Some children later described them as very thin with huge dark eyes, very strange. And according to several of the students, the figures were just standing there, staring at them, watching them. One girl said that they didn't move normally. They were not walking. It felt like they were floating or gliding. Some of the children got so scared and started crying. Others just stood there, frozen, staring at these beings. Several of the children later claimed that these beings actually never spoke to them, but somehow it felt like messages were being put into their heads. Messages about humans destroying the planet, about pollution, about technology becoming dangerous. Towards the end of the break, the children ran and they told the teachers what they had seen. But many of the teachers just dismissed it. Oh my God, children with large imaginations, you know. When the children went home, they reported to their parents and told them the exact same story. Many parents became alarmed because their children were describing similar things. Over the years, people have argued that the children imagined it all and then they influenced each other and walked themselves into mass panic, you know. But decades later, several of these children, now adults, they still insist that they saw something in their school that morning. So, do you believe in aliens? Because whether these stories were real or imagined or mass panic or something else, people across different countries, decades, different backgrounds are still describing experiences that they cannot explain. And the craziest part is, these are only 2 stories. I could probably tell you 10 stories about alien encounters from different parts of the world at different times in history. Do you believe in aliens? Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy stories like this, please don't forget to follow me. I tell these stories on all my pages all the time. Thank you.